name is Alice Gerstenberg, and I've invited you here to my parlor in my lovely and frankly grand home here on Chicago's Lakeshore Drive. I was born here and lived here all my life. It was a privileged life, really. My grandfather established a securities company in 1863. Gerstenberg is the oldest name on the Chicago Board of Trade. I've been so fortunate. I was educated at Bryn Mawr, where I began writing plays. After graduation, I returned to Chicago and I was too busy writing to get married. I wrote about women, our stories, stories about love and humanity, and the transition from Victorian dullness to the excitement of the flapper. But there was no outlet for plays at my generation. You see, these ghastly, formulaic melodramas were all the rage, playing in ever bigger theaters for nearly a century. Is this what people want? I would say no, it's what they're given. You see, the owners of most of the theaters in America convened a secret meeting back in 1895. They organized a syndicate to control competition and prices and to keep all other theater out. They effectively stifled dramatic representation and experiments for years, but no longer. Now, those old melodramas are giving way to new, more realistic forms of theater. And much of this evolution is caused by the Little Theater movement, which I helped to create. The Little Theater movement, you know the Little Theater movement. Well, if you don't, let me tell you, I and other like-minded people would organize new plays by unknown playwrights in parlors, just like this one. We started small, new theaters accessible to everyone, and the idea caught on. Pretty soon, new and realistic plays were being produced in Provincetown, in Los Angeles, all across America. In fact, the Fringe Theater here in Key West is very compatible with our way of thinking, taking theater out of the theater and all that. Anyway, we are the reason that there's off-Broadway theater, community theater. We provided an outlet for women's plays, for experimental plays, for psychological drama. Eugene O'Neill and many others had their first productions in our houses. So I have invited you here tonight to my little theater to see some of my plays, to meet some of my creations, my characters, well, my friends really. These are the women and men who give voice to my observations about our life, our loves, and frankly, the foibles of our time. But I'm starting to get ahead of myself. Cynthia is our stage manager, and she, in a little while, you're going to see that she will be our sound effects as well. Are we set up for the first play, Cynthia?
Yes, we are.
Okay, then we'll set the stage. Our first play is called 14. It takes place in the dining room of Mrs. Pringle's fine New York residence. The table has been elaborately set for 14. Dunham, the butler, is hovering over the table with some last-minute changes and corrections. In a moment, you will meet Mrs. Pringle. Let me tell you about Mrs. Pringle. She is a woman of fashion, handsome, vivacious, charming, capable, and tonight she is giving one of her famed dinner parties. She wears a lovely evening gown. Mrs. Pringle, however, is somewhat excitable. Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy 14.
Mr. Harper that he's been called away to the bedside of a friend who's very ill. He sent me these flowers, and it's a good thing he did. I don't approve of young men refusing dinner invitations in the very last minute.
I'll take the box in favor, Mrs. Pringle.
Oh, and it's too bad after you've set everything out so beautifully. Oh, it's getting so late. Someone can come at any time. How's Cook?
Oh, Cook's in a timber as always, ma'am.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it. She's like an actress. The greater the temper, the greater the performance. As long as she serves us a good dinner, I don't care how much she swears. The rest of you can just stay out of her way. Where's Gustav?
I'm sorry to have to say it, madam, but there's such an awful blizzard out. He's sweeping off the sidewalk.
Oh, dear me, yes. I should have ordered an awning, but who expected a storm like this?
Here are the place cards, Mother, and the diagram. Shall I put them around?
Yes, dear. Elaine, I'm just going up to look after your father. He's so helpless with his ties. Dunham, remove one plate.
Remove one plate, madam? Oh, madam, it is a certainty. You wouldn't sit down at 13.
13? Why, you're right. We could never sit down to 13. And it's all due to Mr. Harper's negligence. Sick friend, nothing. He's just one of those careless men who doesn't answer his invitations in time. His flowers, indeed, to make me forgive him. Now, look at the trouble he's put me to. Oh, 13. Who might we get to come in the last minute? Elaine, help me think.
There's always Uncle George.
Oh, he never opens his head.
Mr. Morgan, madam. He always tells a joke or two.
Why, yes. That's clever. Hello, Central. Get me late 5971 at once, please. Elaine, dear, your hair's much too tight. Pull it out. Pull it out. Come here. Mr. Morgan. Well, this is Mrs. Pringle speaking from across the street. Yes. When Mr. Morgan comes in, have him call me up right away. I'd like to invite him to dine with us in about 10 minutes. Can you expect him? Well, have him call me. What if he shouldn't get it? What'll I do then?
Well, Mother, I don't need to be at the table. It's your party anyway, and everybody's married and older than I am.
Didn't I seat you next to Oliver Farnsworth? Millions. He's worth millions.
He won't be giving me any.
He can marry you, can't he? Don't you want to make a good match for yourself? Oh, I fling every eligible man I can at your head. Can't you finish the rest by yourself?
It's no use, Mother. You're trying to marry me off to anyone as important as he is. Oh, he scares me to death. I lose my tongue. I'm as afraid of him as I'd be afraid of the Prince of Wales.
Prince of Wales. But I wouldn't give to have the Prince of Wales in my house. New York has lost its heart to him. I was saying to Mr. Farnsworth yesterday what I wouldn't give to have the Prince in my house. I would establish my social position for life, and I have such a reputation as a wonderful hostess. Oh, dear me, the telephone. Hello? Mrs. Sedgwick. Yes, this is Mrs. Pringle. What? No. Oh, caught in a snowdrift. Can't get another car. Good, the widow can't come. That leaves us 12. Done. Remove 2 plates. Oh, what a shame. I am heartbroken. How could we ever manage without you? Have you really tried? I am reduced to tears. Goodbye. Well, I'm glad she dropped out. Hello, Central. Give me late 5971. Dunham, with 2 less, we can save 2 cocktails and at least 4 glasses of champagne. Has Mr. Morgan come in yet? Well, don't give him the message I telephoned earlier about crossing the street to dine with Mrs. Pringle. It's too late, you understand? Well, anyway, I have invited Clem and repaid my indebtedness and saved my champagne besides.
The liquor is getting low, madam. What with prohibition and entertaining so much?
But Mother, if we're only 12, Father can't sit at the head of the table.
But he has to sit at the head. It looks too undignified when the man of the house gets pushed to the side.
There is no other way. There must be a woman at each end.
Oh, how absurd. I always forget. Of course, 12 is an impossible number. Oh, I don't want any of these women at the head. Mrs. Harper, such a cat. I wouldn't give her the honor. And Mrs. Answer it, Dunham.
Hello, Mrs. Pringle's residence. What, sir? Yes, sir. What? Mr. Darby, the doctor says your baby has the chicken pox.
Chicken pox, Elaine!
Mother!
Yes, sir. Mr. Darby sends his apologies, but owing it to the transmutability of the disease, Mr. and Mrs. Darby feel obliged to regret, as well as their house guests, Mr. and Mrs. Fleetwood.
That's 4 out!
Oh, that makes us 8 done the plates!
Don't we know someone would give them right in the last minute?
That happens.
Oh, they don't speak French when they entertain, and I can't afford to invite them to drink mine.
Greens.
She's not interesting enough.
Mr. Conley.
No, he never makes dinner calls, even after all the times that I have invited him.
Hester Longley.
Not at the same table with you and Oliver Farnsworth. She's far too pretty, too clever.
Where is Armour? The Tuppers.
Oh, the Tuppers? Good heavens, Elaine! 6 in the family.
That would bring us back to 14, then Father can sit at the head of the table.
Well, try them. I'll rush and tell your father to hold up the drawing room.
Ridgeway, 9523. This is Elaine Pringle. To what Tupper am I speaking? Oh, Ella, hello. Yes, I hope you haven't finished your dinner. Well, we had a party arranged here, and at the last moment, everyone's dropping out. The blizzard. Can't you flop your family around the corner and come dine with us? Mother and I thought we knew you well enough to ask you like this in the 7th hour. You would? Fine. 6 more plates, dear. What? Well, Mother, quick. Yes, of course. Certainly. I love it. All right, my dear. All right. Oh, great Caesar, now what have I done?
What's the matter, Elaine? What?
Now I've done it. I've just done it. But I couldn't get out of it. I just couldn't. You weren't here. Oh, I always lose my head and bungle things.
What? Don't keep us waiting like this. What is it?
I invited Ella and her family, and they accepted, and then she said they had 2 house guests, and would it be all right? And of course I said it would, and now we're 16.
16! But madam, the table's not that long.
That's just like you, Elaine. No tact. No worldly wisdom. If I had been on the telephone, I would have politely said that my table...
But you weren't at the phone. You ought to attend such messages yourself. You know I always lose my head.
But the dishes, madam, and we only have 14 squaws.
I won't eat any.
But I must not be disgraced. We'll have to make the best of it and insert another board.
But Mother, I don't need to be at the table.
You are going to sit next to Oliver Farnsworth, and I don't wish to hear another word about it.
But can't we squeeze them in without the trouble of inserting another board? If I move the plates and the chairs closer together.
Have you forgotten that Mr. Tupper weighs at least 250 pounds, and Mrs. Conley has no waist? It can't be done.
Cook is in a rage, madam. She says she is only prepared for 14.
I can't help it. She'll have to prepare for 16. Tell her to open cans of soup and vegetables.
The ice cream forms in the gelatin molds.
I'll pretend I don't like them.
I'll pretend I'm on a diet.
But I need to be at the table.
Be still. Ring. Oh dear, the telephone. Don't answer it. Ring. Ring. It's driving me mad. Hello? Yes, this is Mrs. Pringle. Oh, hello, Jessica. What? No, the blizzard. You're cold. Too dangerous. Oh, of course, my dear. Your husband is quite right. It would be foolhardy. Yeah, mustard plaster, hot toddy, to bed. So sorry. Well, that's wonderful. Now we are just 14.
The place cards are all wrong. Only 6 are coming who were originally invited. You'll have
Mr. Oliver Farnsworth? No. You're his secretary. He's what? Instructed you to make his excuses, had to leave for Boston at once on important business? Oh, how dare you! How dare you! And in the very last minute, no regard for a hostess's feelings, no regard for the effort she goes to make an evening's entertainment. And I had such a nice dinner planned. He promised he would come. Business. I don't believe it. He didn't want to exert himself, afraid of freezing in the blizzard, as if he doesn't have a half dozen limousines to bring him to my door. Selfishness. Downright rudeness. And worth millions. Just the match for you, Elaine. And I was bound that you should meet him and sit with him at the table. And now, I don't know when I'll be able to give you another chance like that. Oh, I'm furious. I'll never speak to him again. I won't be treated this way.
Perhaps he really did have business and was called away.
And I, one of the most important hostesses in the city, people clamoring for my invitations. All my affairs are a success. I insist that they shall be. I couldn't bear a failure. I won't have a failure. And he was my most important guest. Oh, such a man's man. So important financially. All the other men consider it an honor to meet him. And now, not coming. Oh, I'm perfectly furious, and it's all this damnable blizzard.
But now I will have to stay away from the table. His not coming makes you 13 again.
Go to bed. Go up to the nursery, and I'll send up milk and crackers.
But Mother, it's not my fault Oliver Farnsworth got called out of town.
Yes, it is. If you perk up a bit and make something of yourself and not be so timid, maybe he would hear about your attractions from other men and be curious to meet you himself. Oh, what a family I have. No one to help me with my ambitions. Go to bed. I certainly won't sit down to 13. Go to bed. Get out of my sight.
It was Mr. Morgan's, Mum. Mr. Morgan.
Mr. Morgan. But I telephoned his maid to tell him not to come.
I could never see the second message, madam, for I heard him explaining just now to Mr. Pringle how happy he was to receive your telephone invitation.
That makes you 13 again. Unless you don't want me to go to bed.
Of course I don't want you to go to bed. Well, we're back to where we started. 14 down.
I get the cocktails ready, madam. Annie just told me that there were several motors making their way through the snow. It's late now, and cook's swearing about the dinner getting too dry.
I won't answer it.
I should say not. Hello. Yes, Mrs. Tupper. Yes, Mrs. Tupper. But you must come. But we've prepared for you. Yes, for 8 of you. But everything is set. Every plate is set. Well, yes, your daughter told my daughter about your guests. But my dear, well, that's a foolish stand to take. What? But my dear, well, what do you think of that? Mrs. Tupper is perfectly furious with Ella for telling you about their guests. She says that Ella has no tact, that nothing could induce her to bring 8 when 6 were invited. So she's leaving Ella and Henry at home, and only 6 are coming. Remove 2 plates, Dunham. We'll be 12 after all.
But if you're only 12, Father can't sit at the end.
I shall go mad. I'll never entertain again. Never. Never. People want to know if they're coming or not, but they accept and decline and accept. They drive me wild. Oh, this is my last dinner party. My very last. A fiasco. An utter fiasco. A haphazard crowd. sit next to her husband. And if I want Mr. Morgan here, oh, it's impossible. I might as well put their names in a hat and draw them out at random. Never again. I'm through. Through with society, with parties, with friends. I wipe my slate clean. No, they'll miss my entertainments. They'll be sorry they weren't more considerate. From now on, I live for myself. I'm going to be selfish and hard and unsocial. And I'm going to drink my liquor myself instead of serving it gratis to the whole town. I'm through with men like Oliver Farnsworth. I don't care how rich they are. I don't care how important they are. I don't care how influential they are. They're nothing without courtesy and consideration. Business off on a train. Nonsense. He didn't want to come. Didn't want to meet a sweet, pretty girl. Didn't want to marry her. Well, he's not good enough for you. Don't you marry him. Don't you dare marry him. I won't let you marry him, do you hear? And if you try to elope or anything like that, I'll break it off. Yes, I will. Oliver Farnsworth is beneath my recognition. I shall never see him again. I hate Oliver Farnsworth.
A note from Mr. Farnsworth, madam.
A note from Mr. Farnsworth.
Yes, madam. There are two strange gentlemen in the lower hall. They presented this letter. He said he was the secretary. All the other guests are upstairs in the drawing room, madam. I counted 12 in all, including you and Mr. Pringle and Miss Elaine. But the two gentlemen in the lower stairs, madam, are waiting for your answer. The one man's face looked very familiar, but I just can't place him, although I'm sure I've seen his face somewhere.
Oh my goodness. Elaine. It's the Prince of Wales.
Madam, the secretary said you cut off the telephone that Central disconnected you. He was about to tell you that Mr. Farnsworth knew that the blizzard had prevented His Highness from keeping an engagement way uptown.
The Prince of Wales, sitting in my lower hall, waiting for me to invite him to dinner.
But that makes you 13 again.
There's the secretary, miss. He is his bodyguard.
Certainly, the secretary, Elaine, will be 14 at dinner. Now, serve the cocktails. The guests may sit wherever they choose, and I shall bring the prince in with me.
But Mother, wasn't it nice of Oliver Farnsworth to send a prince in his place?
Didn't I always say that Oliver Farnsworth was the most considerate of men?
I think I shall like Mr. Farnsworth.
Silly child. It is too late now to like Mr. Farnsworth. It is time now to like the prince. I always manage somehow to be the most successful of hostesses. Thank God for the blizzard.
Thank you all. Cynthia, would you remove Mrs. Pringle's dishes and get the chairs set up for the next play? Our next play is called Ever Young. Okay. I believe that to stay young, one must welcome change and exercise adaptation. Old people don't want to sit around looking at other old people, and whether or not young people want to look at old people, it's my belief that a young person cannot fully mature until they have developed empathy with the old. Much of the problem with delinquency in our society today is due to the lack of grandparent authority. I think that the Chinese had a good idea in veneration of the aged. Well, maybe too much, but that's part of the nature of life itself. I would say that it is up to the aged in our society to express themselves freely with dignified self-respect and no false silence or cringing as to what reaction they might get from the youngsters. The ladies of Ever Young certainly do that. Mrs. Payne Dexter and her friends are vacationing in a luxurious, plush Palm Beach resort hotel. Please enjoy Ever Young.
There was no need to hurry through dinner, Agnes. There are plenty of chairs.
We lost our chance last night because you lingered over your coffee.
Oh, I always linger over my coffee. I wish that Thomas was alive. Our family always lingers over the coffee.
Another moment, no one a bit of chair vacant.
Oh, and aside from Mrs. Blanchard, I nodded to her in this direction as we came out of the dining room.
She liked this corner. We could see everyone who crosses the lobby.
How many sights and how many frights shall we see tonight? Oh, really, Agnes, I wish you'd give up wearing your old-fashioned onyx and amber. Why don't you turn in all that junk and get something new?
I've had no desire to buy jewelry since my husband died.
Oh, but that was ages ago. I've had all my diamonds reset since Thomas went. I had my wedding ring melted and molded again into an orange ring.
Oh, look, there's that young bride that arrived today.
Oh, where?
Over there, near the fountain, the one with the very low gown.
I don't see her.
Oh, she moved behind the column.
I can't see her. Why didn't you tell me before the column got in the way?
Well, if you were so vain, Phoebe, you have decent glasses like mine.
Indeed, I can see perfectly well.
Well, I don't blame you for using your lorgnette. It certainly adds distinction to the Payne Dexter manner.
What? Are you still impressed by my manner?
I have been for 50 years. Oh, dear me, Phoebe. Has it really been 50 years since we were debutantes?
Don't let the hotel know I'm 70.
Nobody guesses it.
I certainly don't feel it. But let me tell you, these young debutantes of today, with their supercilious airs, their sophisticated conversation, and their smirking in public places, are not. My hair may be white, but my blood is still red.
Your vitality is a marvel to everyone, while your club work and your civic and social leadership, they even have the doctors amazed at you.
Doctors are my worst enemy. They tell me I must not eat this, I must not do that. They tell me I'm growing old and that I must rest. Well, I do not wish to rest, and I certainly won't grow old. When one has been a leader, one cannot let younger women usurp one's position.
You still have your leadership.
I still have it because I will have it. I will not let it go. But I have to strive harder for it every year. Every year I must become more imperious, more dominating, more terrorizing, to to hold supremacy over this new, independent generation.
They all fear you, Phoebe.
I hope so. I shall not be pushed into a corner as long as I draw one breath of life.
Oh, good afternoon, Mrs. Blanchard.
We've kept a chair for you.
Oh, goody. Mrs. Payne Dexter, Mrs. George.
Oh, here, sit down, Mrs. Blanchard.
No need to help. I shall soon throw it away.
Throw your cane away.
Yes, I will need it in a week or so. I heard about a woman once that dispensed with her cane. Who was it? That, well, what's her name? The one over there with the golf champion with the burnt V on her chest. She was telling me about a case the other day, but I can never remember names. I shall have to ask her about it.
Are you getting strong, Mrs. Blanchard?
Oh, I must get stronger. I'm tired of depending upon a cane. Everywhere I go, people go out of their way to be polite to me. Men help me. Women send their men to help me. Doormen help me. Chauffeurs help me. Waiters help me. Debutantes help me.
Debutantes. I can scarcely believe it.
Oh, the debutantes hop around me like so many sandflies, all of them wanting to help me walk. I should like to swat them with this. But I won't need this in a week or two. I shall throw this old thing away.
Mrs. Blanchard.
It is no idle threat. I mean it. But you said you used a cane for 15 years. And so I have, and it is now old enough to be thrown away. It is the oldest leg I have.
Oldest?
What are you doubting?
My dear Mrs. Blanchard, you just said that your cane is the oldest leg that you have.
So it is.
Mrs. Dorchester was telling us that those were not the oldest, but maybe the youngest ones you got.
No, my legs are not more than 9 months old. 9 months. Should I say 90 years?
Isn't it a little nearer to the truth?
No, it is not the truth. The wonderful truth is that my legs are just exactly not more than 9 months old. I have been reading an amazing book.
What is it? Truth and youth.
This book says that every cell in our body becomes new every 9 months. I heard about that. My daughter was reading a book about that, but I forget what it's called. As we grow old, we hold the thought of age and impress ourselves with that thought. But if we should rid ourselves of the illusion of old age, we may stay ever young.
Let me have this book. I pay a fortune for youth.
Oh, you do not have to pay for youth. You just have to think it to be it. It's quite simple, they say, if you have faith. What was that book my daughter was reading? Jeremy, I can never remember names or numbers or titles.
Too much wool, Agnes. I tell you, you're growing old.
Oh, she does not look it.
Oh, her mind is 150 years old.
Not quite. I've had too many financial matters to attend to since my husband died to let me slip too far behind the times. Though I do believe in approaching old age with as good a grace as possible. No rubbish. That is antediluvian. I am just beginning to learn how to live. Do you know I have just obtained my divorce?
Have you divorced Mr. Blanchard after all these years?
After all these years? Well, I suppose you know the story of my life. It was nationally commented upon when my daughter married the Duke of Calgary.
My St. Louis friends often mentioned you. That's why I was so interested in meeting you here this season. When my husband was alive, he used to hear things at the clubs.
No doubt he did. My husband has been notoriously unfaithful to me. I have grieved about it over 40 years. I never had the strength or the courage to do anything about it, but now I see it as clear as day. If I have been a fool for 40 years, must I stay a fool forever? No, I have kicked over the traces with my wooden leg, and I am a free woman. How odd to think of you knowingly, willfully, giving up your husband when we widows would so wish to have ours back again.
Did your husband contest it?
Oh, he was amazed, indignant. He writes me imploring letters. He is old now and ready to settle down. But now that he is old and ready to sit by the fire and watch me knit, I would rather play roulette. I gambled away $300 last night. We left early.
That is, at midnight.
We rode around a bit before coming in because it was just so balmy, and I
I do love to ride in the chairs. I suppose it wasn't quite the thing for two lone women to ride around in the moonlight at midnight, but the colored boy said that everyone does it at Palm Beach.
Well, I didn't come back to the hotel until morning. I stayed on, played, had breakfast, came back without a ring on my finger, handed them over as security to a friend who thought it quite funny to take them.
We missed you on the beach this morning.
I slept until luncheon. I'm going back this evening to win back my rings, starting with 500.
Before you know it, you'll have gambled away a fortune.
Oh, I do not worry. I receive an amazingly high alimony. I am making up for 40 years. There is only one man in my life whom I truly loved, and he was not my husband. Oh, be shocked, if you will. I am free now and they speak of him.
Oh, what happened?
I never knew what became of him.
I can't imagine what it would be like not to love one's husband. I miss mine so.
I had been married only 4 months when I became aware of my husband's infatuation with a married woman from our own set. Well, I should have divorced him then and there, but I was quite young and it just wasn't being done in those days. In my hour of disillusion, a dashing young lieutenant became aware of my distress and planned to arouse my husband's jealousy and so bring him back to me.
Stop fiddling with your door cane. It's on my nerves.
Oh, he succeeded in arousing his jealousy, but in the meantime, I fell in love with the lieutenant.
And he with you, no doubt.
Yes.
Oh, Mrs. Blanchard, that is a life's tragedy, but not a line of it shows on your face.
I would not let it show on my face. I harbored a thought, a secret thought, a terrible thought, that my husband might die and that I would be free to find the other, and he should not find an old woman's wrinkled face when he so cherished the memory of my youth.
Think of living like that all these years when you might have had a divorce long ago.
It is humorous in a way, isn't it? When women like yourself and Mrs. Dorchester are widowed, I had to put up with a husband who just wouldn't die.
What became of the lieutenant?
Well, he asked to be transferred to another post. He wanted to get as far away from me as possible. No distance seemed far enough to break the magnetic attraction between us. Oh, he was finally sent as far away as China, and I lost track of him in the Boxer Rebellion.
And you never heard from him again?
No, the government reported him as missing, no doubt taken prisoner by the Chinese. If he died, and I'm sure that he died, I know that it is his spirit that has been lovingly guiding me, watching over me these last 20 years. Oh, I know that Oliver has never forgotten me. If he had lived or escaped, Oliver would have found me. No, it has been he guiding me, near me these last 20 years.
My husband and I loved each other dearly. That love, it seems to me, should hold us over even after he's gone. But I can't believe that it does.
Oh, it does. And it will if you have faith. For a long time, I tried to make myself believe it. But now I am beginning to believe it, to realize it, to feel it deep within me, and I feel warm all over. Oh, I shall kick aside my ancient legs.
Of course he loved you. I'm sure of it. If only he were alive now that you have your divorce.
Oh, so you see, my romance is but a shadow, a mere thought. I dare keep no letters, no tokens of his, only my thoughts. But it has been those thoughts that have kept me from falling to pieces all these years.
And the thoughts have kept your face so young. And here you are, threatening to walk without your cane.
I will, too, I will. Oh, if only I knew that Oliver died with me in his heart. If I knew that it had been he guiding me all these years and not my imagination. Oh, if I but knew it.
Well, I should certainly continue to believe that he remembered me.
Oh, I'm sure he did. Well, I have built my life around my faith in him. If I should be robbed of my belief in his love for me, I believe it would kill me.
But if you could have proof.
Oh,
of
if I
his
could
love.
have proof.
There's that beautiful Mrs. Courtney Page. I should like to get to know her better. Shall we invite her to sit with with us.
Who is she?
The white-haired woman in white carrying a black fan. She's just coming out of mourning for her last husband.
Last? How many did she have?
The manicurist told me she had 3, and the clerk in the jewelry shop told me only 1. Well, they were appraising her pearls. She has such marvelous pearls. I'd love to see her pearls close by. Wouldn't you?
Oh, yes, do invite her over. I would like to exchange data about husbands. Is she here alone?
Oh, they say she came alone, but I noticed her on the beach with one man and in a rolling chair with another. She's alone now and evidently looking for a place to sit. Call her over, Agnes.
But I don't know her. Phoebe, you call her. Well, don't you know her, Mrs. Dexter?
Well, I might pretend to. How do you do?
How do you do? You must pardon me, I don't recall the name.
Mrs. Payne Dexter of New York. Don't tell me, Mrs. Courtney Page, you've forgotten me.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Payne Dexter, a name so well known. We met, I remember, it was exactly 5 years ago at the opera. You were in the box next to the Carols. We were their guests one evening when my late husband and I were in New York on a wedding trip.
Oh, why, of course, how clever of you to remember. My friends, Mrs. Dorchester and Mrs. Blanchard.
Oh, how do you do? Won't you sit down?
Yes, thank you. I have noticed you, Mrs. Blanchard. Your cane?
Thank you.
Blanchard of St. Louis? The name is familiar.
Oh, my daughter married the Duke of Cowbray.
Oh, yes. Yes, but it seems to me I saw the name lately.
No doubt you did. I am celebrating my divorce. I think she has a great deal of courage to face the world alone. Voluntarily. Oh, it is rejuvenating to feel so marvelously free.
She is quite right. Why should a woman remain in bondage when there is at every turn a new chance for a better alliance?
Oh, good gracious. Do you think me capable of marriage again at my age?
Why not? A woman can marry any man she wants.
Oh, I think a man can get any woman he wants. I mean, my Henry certainly kept insisting until I married him, but I don't think it's the other way around. Do you, Phoebe?
Oh, I don't know. I worked very hard for Thomas, but I got him.
I have no opinion. The one I wanted I met when it was too late.
What do you mean by too late?
After I was married to someone else.
But now you are divorced.
Oh, it is too late. My romance was over 20 years ago.
Do you really think a woman can marry any man she wants?
I've proven it. I've been engaged 3 times, married once widowed, and now I have a new fiancé. Isn't that proof?
Oh, you are, if you pardon my frankness, Mrs. Courtney Page, a very handsome woman. Such attractions would not take much further effort on your part.
Thank you. But there is a science about attracting love, as there is about everything else. There hasn't been a moment in my life I haven't been in love.
That's impossible. There aren't enough people in the world for that.
Oh, yes, there are. As long as you hold the thought of love, you will find those you can love. And as long as you love, it will attract it in return.
Where is your home now, Mrs. Courtney Page?
Chicago. But I was born in San Francisco. I was Emily Tarden.
Emily Tarden, you don't mean it, are you truly? Why, it just seems yesterday when all the magazines were full of your photographs. The most beautiful debutante on the western coast.
They did make a fuss about it when I became engaged to Harlow Bingham. I was only 18 then. When I look back and think what a brilliant career I might have had with Harlow, well, you know he died before we were married. An accident, horse racing. Poor Harlow. He gave me my first pearls.
Magnificent girls.
I can scarcely keep my eyes off of them.
This strand, the shortest and the smallest, was given to me by Harlow Bingham upon our engagement. It was a gift of thanks because I had given up the desire to go on the stage to marry him.
Did you want to be an actress?
Oh, I've wanted nothing more all of my life.
And you would have made a good one, too.
My family opposed me, as all families do.
They did in those days.
Did you marry Mr. Courtney Page after Mr. What's-His-Name died, your fiancé?
No, I became engaged to Parlor, an Englishman I met in Egypt. He brought me this second strand, the second largest in longest, from India. He went on ahead to South Africa to prepare a home, intending to come back for me, but he died of fever, and we were never married.
How thrillingly tragic.
Oh, I could not have endured it. And the other strands, you have 2 more.
This third one was the gift of my husband, Mr. Courtney Page. I would not let him give them to me until after we were married.
That was a wise precaution. They say pearls mean tears.
It's surprising he risked getting you pearls at all.
He felt he had to. He was jealous of the others. So he bought a string from Vienna, larger and longer than the other.
And then did he die too?
No, Mr. Courtney Page was the third man I was engaged to, but the only one I married. He died scarcely a year ago.
Excuse me, Phoebe, what did you say was the name of the woman in jet black walking with the aviator? Did she fly down from New York with him?
That's Hilda Dane. She's one of the follies. They say she has her skin insured when she's on the beach.
I have never seen her skin. She paints it all with whitewash, and her lips are painted bright red. Yesterday on the beach, she wore a lemon woolen cape with a sable collar and every diamond ever given to her.
Did she marry the aviator?
Don't ask absurd questions, Agnes. Your very mind is getting to be like wool.
I've always been more domestic than you, Phoebe.
Domestic. Haven't I done my share? Haven't I run a house in New York, a house in Newport, a house in London, apartments in Paris? I even had a palace one season in Venice. It's not domesticity that's making you old. It's mental lethargy.
That is the worst enemy of youth, mental lethargy. I refuse to have it.
Oh, Mrs. Dorchester doesn't live for herself anymore. When she's at home, she's a slave to her grandchildren. And when she's away, she can scarcely take time away from the wool to look at a coconut grove.
Oh, I can knit without looking.
I am more selfish. I do not spend my evenings knitting baby socks or scarves. I have my opera box. I give dinner parties and entertain distinguished foreign visitors. I have my club committees, my charities, and I'm taking up Spanish because I'm planning to spend next season in Buenos Aires. Oh, but you, Agnes, you make your children dependent upon you. You're always nursing some grandchild through something.
Well, I must help them when they're ill.
You think you must, and they let you think it because they don't want to hurt your feelings by letting you know they don't need to.
Well, isn't that a happy thought, not being needed? You were telling us about your pearls, Mrs. Courtney Page. It is an exquisite pleasure to look upon them.
But this fourth strand was a gift of my new fiancé. I am down here waiting for time to pass. We should be married as soon as it seems correct.
Oh, how amazing to have a fiancé. I can't imagine caring for one as I have cared for one in the past.
Nor I.
Men aren't worth bothering about.
I was so lost without marriage companionship that when I was in Paris last autumn, I picked out the most eligible man I could find. He is quite old, but very nice, and he has valuable mines in Australia.
Is he a Frenchman?
No, an American. But he hasn't been in this country since he was sent to the American legation in China. He's had an exciting life. He was taken prisoner in the Boxer Rebellion. And was missing for years. But a faithful Chinese servant smuggled him to Australia.
Your fiancé. His name?
Oliver Trent, president of the Australian.
Oliver Trent. Did you say Oliver Trent?
Isn't that the man you said you loved? Isn't that the name, Phoebe?
Mrs. Blanchard was trying to tell us about a friend of hers who was lost in the Boxer Rebellion. She thought he died. No doubt it is a consolation to her to know that he still lives.
No! Oh, I can scarcely believe that he still lives, Mrs. Courtney Page. I have held him in my heart as one dead for 20 years. He loved me once. I have lived on the not be true. When he went away to China, he put me out of his mind forever. He has forgotten me for younger and handsomer women.
I wouldn't let that worry me. Men are not worth such lifelong adoration.
Perhaps, Mrs. Corky, Kate will give him up if we tell her how much he means to you.
I want my own, not one that is cast off.
You want me to give him up? It would be hard for me to do. It was not easy to win him. I had to use all the art I have learned in past experiences to get him. He's never been married and is a little afraid. But I won him. If I give him up, are you sure he would remember you?
No, do not trouble yourself. I shall have to bear it. Oh, I am blinded as though I've been hit in the head. Or perhaps it is my heart. You see, we were very much in love. But I was married, and he had to go away. He promised not to forget me, but he was young, and perhaps I shouldn't have believed him. The night before he left, I met him clandestinely in the park. I cut off a piece of my hair. Oh, it was golden then, like golden amber, he said. And he put it in an amber locket that he wore on his watch charm.
I remember! I remember! I've had it here. I have it right here set into a bracelet. I've had it for 20 years. My son brought it home from the Philippines. It was given to him by a Chinese servant.
The locket?
A Chinese servant.
Yes, the very one that you said rescued him. Oh, I remember it all now. Oh, how stupid of me to have not thought of it before, but you know, as Phoebe says, my mind's all wool. The Chinese servant.
Go on.
Well, you know, the boxer stormed the legation, and he fought desperately and valiantly, till he almost, that's what the Chinese servant said, described it, as he was taken prisoner, and was tortured till he almost lost his mind. And then at night he raved in delirium, and he called a woman's name out. But there was nobody by that name in the legation. My son told me, but oh, you know, my wretched memory, I couldn't remember it. Oh. But it wasn't a name you could identify with. It was like a nickname.
Was it Dee Dee?
Dee Dee. Yes, that was it.
It meant dear.
Why have you kept this from us all this time?
Well, how was I to know that my son's story was about Mrs. Blanchard until she mentioned the watch charm?
But now you don't forget.
Oh, that's just it. I'll tell you how it was. Oh, my stupid memory. Maybe stop dealing with your dorky. You distract me. Oh, Amber locket, the Chinese servant, smuggled him onto a boat.
Smuggled who into a boat?
Well, Mr. What's-his-name?
Oliver Trent.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Smuggled him onto a boat. And in the excitement of concealing him behind some kegs, the ship started to move. So the Chinese servant had to run to get off. And running to get off, he forgot to give up the amber locket watch charm. And so he kept it. He kept it as a talisman. And then years later, when he served my son in the Philippines, he gave it to my son as a talisman when my son became very ill with fever. And then my son became very superstitious and had it sent to a bracelet for me and gave it to me as my talisman for my protection. And now I shall give it to you, Mrs. Blanchard, for it is your talisman, a talisman of his undying love.
And that is why I had such difficulty in making it. She had gone out of his life forever. He said that she was married, and it was unlawful for him to think of her. But he has never forgotten. He told me he would love her always. And when I tell him of you, Mrs. Blanchard, he will come to you at once. For you have been right. Your love has been his, and is his still. I think you ought to have these pearls.
Oh! No, I have this. Excuse me, ladies. If I go to my room, I have had my answer from the silence and I am feeling a bit unstrung.
Without her cane! Don't mind her. Was that
about that amber charm, and you've worn it forever, it seems to me.
My father gave it to me on my 21st birthday to save a lock of my blonde hair in, and I risked the chance that mine was a duplicate of hers.
And all you said was a lie.
Never. We shall make it come true.
But when she finds out you've deceived her,
She'll never find out. I shall warn him to hide away his amber watch charm.
he still wears it.
Yes, many other charms from other loves. They say he was quite a beau.
Outrageous flirt.
Oh, poor Mrs. Blanchard. I was afraid she was dying. I was afraid she would die, so I had to say something to bring her to.
But what have you gained by these lies?
Does she not walk?
Oh, it's a miracle.
Merely a miracle of the realization of love.
But it is built on a false belief. He has not been true to her.
Mrs. Payne-Dexter, I have never questioned the reality of anyone's love for me. That which counts is, after all, that which is in our own hearts. If Mrs. Blanchard is convinced of his love, that is all that is really necessary.
But when you marry him...
I shall not marry him. I shall only keep the pearls.
But if you love him,
Well, as for that, I always could find someone else.
Oh, gracious.
oh, my wool is a mess.
You'd better give up knitting, Agnes, and turn to story writing. You quite surprised me with your sudden brilliance. Bellboy, you may have my glasses.
Your diamond platinum lorgnette.
Do you think I have to manufacture a love affair to help me get rid of my glasses?
She walked without her cane.
Oh, this tame young one must love.
You know, I believe that to be true, Mrs. Courtney Payne. Don't you, Phoebe?
Indeed.
Thank you all. We will now have a short intermission. You can go out to the courtyard and get some refreshments, and we'll be back here in 15 minutes.
Floating around, but Diana doesn't like them. If she can't have the best male company, she prefers female.
Diana's a peach. She should have married one of the boys before they all went over. Poor Aubrey Lawrence, he was madly in love with her.
Hurry up, there's soot on your cheek.
Well, if I have to dine with 3 women, I guess I better look my best.
Yes, my dear cock of the walk.
Oh. Well, here's the evening paper. Our troops gained 3 miles again.
My dear, your maid told me to come right in.
Oh, Mrs. Packard, I'm so glad you could come on such short notice.
I jumped at the invitation. It's so lonesome with Cyrus away. How lucky you are to have your husband at home.
Thanks to his business, the government refers him here. Please take off your face.
that, of course she will tell everyone else. By this time, no doubt it's all over town.
How dreadful! What have I done?
It isn't what you've done. It's about Diana Chesborough.
She's coming tonight.
Is she? Your invitation?
Why, yes.
Are you sure?
Of course I'm sure.
Well,
But in what way can gossip couple my name with Diana? She's one of my best friends.
is she?
I am quite sure she is.
Maybe she is, still. They wonder why Diana didn't marry one of the boys before they went off to war.
Why should she have?
Yes, why should she have really? Still, anyone as attractive as Diana. She had plenty of chances, didn't she?
Oh, yes.
That's what they say. All nice in it, too. And one or two real catches. Don't you think it's strange that Diana didn't marry one of them?
Yes, I do think it's strange.
There you are, that's just it. They said so. But why do you think she didn't?
I don't know.
What does she say?
I think she says,
Exactly. It's just what everyone says. And everyone feels so sorry for you.
sorry for me.
My dear, you innocent.
What for?
Is it possible you've been so blind?
Blind? I?
You're with each other a great deal, aren't you?
Yes.
And your husband.
Ah, that's what you mean?
Oh, my poor dear, that's what they say.
Just what do they say?
That she and... Oh, no, my dear, of course, I don't believe it, but...
But just in exact words, what do they say?
Hasn't he ever admired her in your presence?
Yes.
What does he say?
Oh, that she's a peach and popular, and all the men like her, and many of them want to marry her?
There you are, that's just it. They said so, and Mrs. Morgan told me that Diana refused the other men because, well, she said because, oh, Diana, you dear sweet thing. Good evening.
Oh, Mrs. Packard. Hello, Enid, old top. I'm early because I came straight up from town after dressing at the club. Canteen work all day. How's everybody?
I've been nursing at the hospital all afternoon.
Isn't Enid a trump doing the home nursing while releasing someone else to get the glory over there? Why, I'd have gone over myself.
Why didn't you?
Against the law. I have relatives in the trenches. Oh, I would have loved the romance of being there. Enid, get the letter from your brother, won't you, and read it to Mrs. Packard? He gives the most unusually interesting descriptions.
Yes, it's most interesting. Excuse me, it's in my desk upstairs.
My dear Miss Chesborough, pardon me for seeming to presume, but I'm only trying to save you. Are you aware of what people are saying about you?
People are saying things about me.
Well, of course they wouldn't say that.
What wouldn't they say?
It's so much easier to flatter than to say disagreeable things.
People are saying disagreeable things about me.
You haven't heard.
No, but I should certainly like to.
Of course you would. Any young woman like you. But my dear, do you really think you should come to this house?
This house? Why, Enid and I went to school together. She's one of my oldest and best friends.
Best, did you say?
You doubt it?
After what she said.
Enid said something to make you doubt her friendship to me. Surely you must be mistaken.
My dear woman, I have eyes and ears. I can see and hear.
Oh, what did Enid say?
She said she wished you'd married one of the boys before they went off to war.
That.
You admit it. And still you come to this house. That is what people say.
What do I admit? I don't follow your reasoning. I don't see.
Of course you don't see. Love is always blind.
Love? We haven't said a word about love.
Of course not. It's a delicate word to use. And in this matter it is. Well, the world does not think it becoming.
Mrs. Packard, I do not understand your innuendos. What are the plain facts? What are people saying? And what does love have to do with it?
Mr. Haldeman.
Felix.
And you.
I.
They couple your names together.
They say that Felix and I. It is a lie.
It doesn't make me, Monnie.
You listen to idle tongues, and you come in here and rob me of my happiness by putting poison into my mind.
I was telling you the truth. And people do not thank you for telling them the truth.
I am the one who knows what the truth is, and I know that Enid and I are friends, and that Enid and Felix and I are friends, and that is all. Felix adores Enid. He would never care for any other woman.
Oh, wouldn't he? Does the world know more than Mrs. Haldeman herself? It does not. Just a few moments ago in this very room, she told me she wished that you had married because she knows that Felix is in love with you. She pretends to be your friend, but in her heart, she hates you.
It's not true.
It's not pleasant to argue with you, Miss Chesnell. I shall find my mistress and make my excuses and not stay to dinner.
If I've been too utterly rude, I apologize. But I can't allow you to continue to circulate such outrageous...
Hi, Diana. When did you get here? Want to help me mix the cocktails?
Felix, a terrible thing has happened. They talk about us.
Who is they and who is us?
People are talking about you and me.
Why? What have we done? You want to drop the orange bitters?
Oh, you're not taking this seriously.
Well, what is there?
Oh, that's just it. What is there? There really were something. Oh, it's so embarrassing for me to have to say this to you.
My dear Diana, you can say anything to me. Haven't I proven myself a real friend?
But if what they say is really true...
Don't you know whether it's true or not?
I thought she said it, I began to wonder.
Wonder what?
Oh,
Come on, out with it.
you know I love Enid.
Well, you've grown up together.
I wouldn't hurt her for worlds.
Of course not.
So do you love her more than anyone else, don't you?
Well, of course, but...
Oh, don't say but.
But why?
Why did you say but?
Did I say but? I don't remember what I said.
You said, of course, but.
I don't remember. You've got me all confused.
You don't think I'm in love with you, do you?
I'm not so conceited to think I could.
Oh. Then, but...
Now what? But...
Are you in love with me?
No!
Thank goodness, but
But what?
that's what they say.
That I'm in love with you?
And that I'm in love with you.
But it...
Exactly.
What can we do?
That's what I'm asking you.
Go straight to Enid.
But Enid believes it.
Nonsense.
She said so.
What she said so.
Mrs. Packard said they all say it.
How do they all know?
They don't, but they think they do, and it events to this
But Enid can't believe it.
But there's proof she does believe it.
Oh, that's too absurd.
Mrs. Packard said that Enid said that you said you or something like that, and that Enid hates me.
That's not so. I know Enid likes you.
Oh, but Mrs. Packard wouldn't dare say anything.
You said Enid hates you?
Perhaps Enid does. Perhaps she's jealous over nothing at all. Perhaps she's been imagining things. Perhaps Enid does hate me. Perhaps she has been saying things, making it seem as if...
Mrs. Hacker says you insulted her and she feels she could not stay for dinner.
I apologize to Mrs. Packard.
You do admit you insulted me.
After you insulted me.
Here, Mrs. Haldeman, it's just as I said. She accused me of insulting her, and I was only trying to be kind and give her a little motherly advice.
Mrs. Packard took it upon herself to repeat some things that people were saying. Things that are manifestly untrue.
Whether they are true or not, it's highly unpleasant for me to have this altercation in my house.
I can tell by your voice you're willing to believe that woman.
Mrs. Haldeman, I resent being called that woman.
I don't care what you resent. You've come in here and spoiled a friendship I've had all my life. I don't care what I call you.
But in my house, my guest.
Don't worry, I shall not be your guest a moment longer. I'm going.
never said such a thing in all my life.
Mrs. Why, in this very room just a few moments ago.
I never said such a thing in all my life.
Can you look me straight in the eyes and say you never said it?
I never said it. Never, never, never.
Didn't you tell me you have eyes and ears and that you could see and hear and that everyone was saying?
But what everybody else says isn't what I say.
Didn't you tell me that Felix was in love with me?
I didn't know that. She told me that.
I never said that.
Why, my dear, you did in this very room just a few moments ago.
I never said such a thing in all my life, and how can you imagine?
I imagine nothing. I know what I see and what I hear. You certainly told me you ought to know everything that I heard so that you could protect yourself. So I told you in a friendly way, trying to be a help, and there we are.
Yes, where are we?
You have no one to blame but yourself.
We have no one to blame but you.
Mrs. Packard, I didn't know I had to protect myself until you insinuated.
Why, it was you yourself who said you wanted to marry her.
I said nothing of the sort. I said that he said.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Didn't you say to your wife that you wanted to marry Miss Chesborough, and didn't you tell her that?
I never said such a thing like that in all my life. Whoever said that got it out of whole cloth.
He denies it, of course.
He has to deny it to admit it would be false.
Whether it was true or false, he would still have to deny it.
Why would he have to deny it?
Because the ethics of a gentleman would make him deny it in order to protect you.
So it doesn't matter. Well, there's nothing we can say or do that will wipe away the miserable thoughts from your mind.
Not my mind. Everybody's mind. I have nothing to do with it.
Enid, can't you stand up and defend us?
Ah, you admit you must be defended.
The whole world needs to be defended against women like you. If you were in my house, I'd show you the door. Enid, show her the door and prove that you trust Felix and me and that you know that there isn't and has never been anything between us but the most innocent friendship. You don't move. You don't trust me.
I've always trusted you. I never had the slightest suspicion, but perhaps I've been blind. Perhaps the world has been able to see better from the distance and understand.
Are you going to take the world's word against ours? Are you going to believe a silly gossip and let a minute of slander outweigh the love and loyalty you've had from Diana and me for a lifetime?
Why don't you tell your wife you love her?
I love my wife, but I don't see any reason to make a public statement of it. I stated that publicly when I married her. She knows I love her. Don't you, my dear?
Do I?
Adores you.
Don't you know it?
But Diana's so pretty.
Oh, Felix, I leave this house forever. Thanks to you, Mrs. Packard, I've lost two friends who meant more to me than even the world's opinion. I shall never see either of you again.
Diana, don't go. It's too outrageous to let such a contemptible gossip break your friendship with Enid.
You see, he does not want her to go.
It will never be the same between me and Enid again.
I don't want her to go because I don't want an evil tongue like yours triumphant. If you'd come into our home and stolen our silver, you'd be less of a thief than you are now. New silver can be bought. A tarnished friendship can never be brought again. You caused this by your malicious remarks about my regard for Miss Chesborough.
I didn't say it.
Oh, pardon me, you did.
I didn't say it, she did.
I didn't.
You did.
I didn't.
What does it matter how it happened? It's done. Done. Our friendship is over. But I won't leave here without leaving my memory white and clean. I don't care what the world believes, but I want Enid to know I've never had a thought against her. So, I'm going to have to tell the truth, even though I would rather have died than say this before.
Ah, now Rick will hear something.
Diana, be careful. You're under no obligation.
They will not believe me, but I'll do anything for Enid. She'll have to know. It's Aubrey Lawrence.
She's making it up. Aubrey Lawrence, he wanted to marry you.
It's true he did, but Diana wouldn't.
Why wouldn't you?
Because I did.
You married him?
Yes, I married him the last day before he sailed.
But your family didn't like him.
That's why I didn't tell them, Mrs. Packard. But you can go now and tell them yourself.
Aubrey Lawrence, did you really, Diana?
He hasn't any money.
What he straight to the core. I'm awfully happy, Diana.
So am I, Diana. Please forgive me.
Mrs. Packard, there is the door, and the world outside is awaiting the latest gossip.
I'll go, my dear, because I've offended you, and I can see you're not ready to forgive me. But I promise not to breathe it to a soul. Not to a soul.
Diana, I'll never forgive you for not telling me you married Aubrey. Why didn't you tell me you married Aubrey?
Because I didn't.
You didn't?
Why you said.
Well, what I said, it doesn't matter what I said.
But she'll tell everyone.
Of course she will.
But it's not true.
Well, it might be true.
But it's not, is it?
No, I told you it wasn't.
But now I don't know whether to believe you or not.
And nor will they know whether to believe her or not.
But when Aubrey hears of it, what will he think?
He will wish that it were true.
What's he going to say about you?
He'll say that I wish it were true.
Yeah.
I do.
Have you found out since he left that you really love him?
Madly, madly, madly.
Hey, shall I cable him that?
I already have.
You haven't.
I have. I'm going to marry him by proxy.
Hey, do have a cocktail on that.
But when we tell people you married him by proxy after Mrs. Packard has told them you are married already, what will people say?
What will people say? In any case, exactly what they choose.
Woo! Significant in the history of American theater. Well, so many people have asked me, where did this come from? My lifespan has included the most unusual crowding of events in history. Never before has so many revolutionary inventions startled mankind. And I believe the next horizons to open up will be along the lines of the experiments going on in parapsychology. And it's along this line that I place my reason for writing Overtones. You see, I had an awareness experience. Sigmund Freud used the term unconscious to recognize those areas deep within us. And I believe that this proves him right. I was visiting an old family friend, Mrs. T, who had recently moved from Chicago to New York. She was living east of Fifth Avenue somewhere, 55th Street. And although socially well-placed in Chicago, she had now developed quite a bit of New Yorkish gloss. We're sitting on the sofa in her elegant dining room when her husband entered. "I'm going over to the Smiths," he said. And she said with an air, "Are you going to take the car?" Well, he was surprised. "Well, no, they're only a block away." And she said, "Oh, I thought you might want to take the car." "Well, for heaven's sakes, I knew you had an automobile. I heard you the first time." But I didn't say that out loud. It was my undercover self speaking, my primitive self. Suddenly I realized we all have primitive selves, and they are all talking all the time, and you cannot shut them up. At that moment, I heard a click in my head, just like the shutter of a camera, and I realized we were not two women talking on the sofa. We were four women. You did not have to tell me about your automobile. I heard you the first time. Well, I went home, and within 24 hours, I wrote Overtones. It was indeed Freudian, because it did not come from my everyday conscious brain. I hope you enjoy it.
Oh, it suits me.
I've tried to make the best of the good points.
My passions are deeper than yours. I cannot keep the mask on as you do. I am crude and real. You are my appearance in the world.
I am what you wish the world to believe you are.
You're the part of me that has been trained.
I am your educated self.
I am the rushing river. You're the ice across the current.
I am your subtle overtones.
But together we are one woman, the wife of Charles Goodrich.
There, I disagree with you, Hetty. I alone am his wife.
Oh, Harriet, how can you say such a thing?
Suddenly, I'm the one who flatters him. I have to be the one who talks to him. If I gave you a chance, you'd tell him at once you dislike him.
I don't love him, that's certain.
No, you leave all the fibbing to me. He doesn't suspect that my calm, suave manner hides your hatred. Considering the amount of scheming it causes me, it can safely be said he is my husband.
Well, if you love him.
I haven't any feelings. It isn't my business to love anybody.
Then why need you object to calling him my husband?
I resent your appropriation of a man who is managed only through the cleverness of my artifice.
You may be clever enough to deceive him, Harriet, but it is still I who suffer. I cannot forget that Charles is my husband. I cannot forget that I might have married John Caldwell.
Foolish of you to remember, John. Just because we met his wife by chance.
But that's what I want to talk to you about. She may be here at any moment. I need to advise you on what to say to her this afternoon.
By all means, tell me now, and don't interrupt while she's here. You have a most annoying habit of talking to me when people are present. Sometimes it's all I can do to keep my poise and appear not to be listening to you.
Impress her.
Hattie, dear, is it not my custom to impress people?
I hate her.
I can't let her see that.
I hate her because she married John.
Only after you'd refused him.
Was it my fault I refused him?
That's it, blame me.
It was your fault. You told me he was too poor and would never amount to anything in painting. Look at him now, known throughout Europe, returning from 8 years in Paris. Famous!
It was too poor a gamble at the time. It was much safer to accept Charles's money and his position.
And then John married Margaret within a year.
Out of spite.
Freckled, gawky-looking thing she was too.
Europe improved her. She was stunning the other morning.
We'll make her jealous today.
Shall I be haughty or cordial or caustic?
Above all else, you must let her know that we are rich.
I do that quite easily now.
Put it on a bit.
Never fear.
Tell her I love my husband.
My husband?
Are you going to quarrel with me?
No. I have no desire to quarrel with you. It would be quite too uncomfortable. I couldn't get away from you if I tried.
You were a stupid fool to make me refuse, John. I can never forgive you. Never!
Don't get me all excited. I'll be in no condition to meet her properly this
I
afternoon.
could choke you for robbing me of John.
Don't muss me.
You don't know how much you've made me suffer.
It is not my business to have heartaches.
You're bloodless. Nothing but sham.
Be quiet! Be quiet! I can't let her see I've been fighting with my inner self.
And now, after all my suffering, you tell me that it's cost you more than it's cost me to be married to Charles? But it's the pain here, in my heart. I've paid the price. I've paid. Charles is not your husband. He is. He isn't. He isn't. I'll kill you.
Don't! Please don't. You're stronger than I. You're stronger.
Say he's mine.
He's ours. Ring!
There she is now. Wait.
I can't let the telephone go down there hear my real self. It isn't proper. Please show Mrs. Caldwell up.
So excited. My heart's in my mouth.
Nice state to put my nerves into.
Don't let her see you're nervous.
Quick, put your veil on or she'll see you shining through me.
Tell her Charles is rich and fascinating. Boast of our friends. Make her feel she needs us.
I'll make her ask John to paint us.
Just my thought. If John paints our portraits
We can wear an exquisite gown.
and make him fall in love with us all over again.
Yes.
That's a lie.
It's enchanting to see you, Harry. I'd bite you if I dared.
Wasn't our meeting a stroke of luck?
Oh, I've thought of you often, and to come back and find you living in New York.
Mr. Goodrich has many interests here.
Flatter her. I know, he's so successful.
Tell her we're rich. Won't you sit down?
What a beautiful lamp. Do you like it?
I'm afraid Charles paid an extravagant price.
I don't believe it. I'm sure he must have.
How well you are looking, Margaret.
Yes, you are not. There are circles under your eyes.
I haven't eaten since breakfast, and I'm hungry. How well you're looking, too. You have hard lines about your lips. Are you happy?
Don't let her know I'm unhappy.
Why shouldn't I look well? My life is full, happy, complete.
I wonder.
Tell her we have an automobile.
My life is complete, too. My heart is torn with sorrow. My husband cannot make a living. He will kill himself if he does not get an order for a painting. You must come see us at the studio, where John is doing some excellent portraits. Well, you cannot begin to fill the orders.
Tell her we have an automobile.
Do you take lemon in your tea?
Take cream. It's more filling. No cream, if you please. Oh, how cozy. Only cakes. I could eat them all.
How many cups?
Sugar is nourishing. 3, if you please. I used to drink very sweet coffee in Turkey, and ever since
I don't believe you were ever in Turkey.
I wasn't, but it is none of your business.
You've been in Turkey. Oh, do tell me about
Change
it.
the subject. Well, you must go there. Well, you have such good taste in dress. You would really enjoy their costumes. John
going
painted
to pass
several-
the cakes.
John painted several portraits there.
Why don't you stop her boasting and tell her we have an automobile?
At last, thank you.
Automobile.
Follow up the costumes with the suggestion that she would make a good model for John. It isn't too early to begin getting what you came for. What delicious cake.
There's your chance for the auto.
Yes, it is good cake, isn't it? There are always a great many people buying it at Harper's. Just this morning, I sat in my automobile 15 minutes waiting for the chauffeur to get it.
Make her order a portrait. Well, if you stopped at Harper's, you must have noticed the new gowns at Henderson's. Oh, aren't the shop windows alluring these days?
Even my chauffeur notices them.
I know you have an automobile. I heard you the first time. I see gowns now with an artist eye, as John does. Why, the one you're wearing now, my dear, is very paintable.
Oh, don't let her see that you're anxious to be painted.
It's just a little model.
Don't seem anxious to get the order. Perhaps it isn't the gown itself, but the way that you wear it that pleases the eye. Oh, some people can wear anything with grace.
Oh, I'm so graceful.
Flatter me, my dear.
On the contrary, Harriet, I have an intense admiration for you. I remember how beautiful you were as a young girl. Well, in fact, I was quite jealous when John was paying you so much attention.
She's gloating because I lost John.
Those were childhood days in a country town.
She's trying to make you feel that John was only a country boy. Most great men come from the country. But there's a fair chance that John will be added to that list.
I know it, and I'm bitterly jealous of you.
Undoubtedly, he owes much of his success to you, Margaret. Your experience in economy and your ability to endure hardship. Those first few years in Paris must have been a struggle.
She is sneering at your poverty. Yes, life is difficult at first, but not the luxurious start a girl has who marries wealth.
Deny you married Charles for his money.
But John and I are so congenial in our tastes that we were impervious to hardship or unhappiness.
Do you love each other? Is it really true?
Did you have all the romance of starving for his art?
She's taunting you. Get even with her. Not for long. Prince Rayer soon discovered John's genius, and introduced him royally to many Parisians, who gave him many orders.
Are you telling the truth, or are you lying?
If you had so many opportunities there,
You must have had great inducements to come back to the States.
We did, but not the kind you think. John became the rage amongst Americans traveling in France. Well, they simply insisted upon his coming here.
Whom is he going to paint here?
What names dare I make up? At present, Miss Dorothy Ainsworth of Oregon is posing. Well, you may not know the name, but she's the daughter of a wealthy miner who found gold in Alaska.
I dare say there are many Western people we have never heard of.
Well, you must have found life very interesting in New York after the simplicity of our hometown.
There's no need to remind us that our beginnings were the same.
Oh, of course, Charles's family made everything delightful for me. They're so well connected.
Flatter her. Oh, I heard it mentioned yesterday, well, that you had made yourself very popular. Somebody said that you were very clever.
Who told you that?
Nobody. Confidences must be suspected, respected, I mean. Well, they told me, too, that you had gained a reputation as a critic of art.
I make no pretenses.
Are you and Mr. Goodrich interested in the same things, too?
No!
Oh, indeed, we are inseparable.
I wonder.
Do have another cake.
Oh, yes. I really shouldn't after my big luncheon. Well, John took me to the Ritz, and we're invited to the Bedfords for dinner. Oh, they have such a magnificent home near the drive.
More tea?
Yes. No, I really shouldn't. Interesting life has arranged itself for you. Wealth, position, every opportunity to enjoy all pleasures. A happy marriage. Oh, how happy you must be.
Don't call me happy. I haven't been happy since I gave up John. All those years without him. A future without him. No, I should win him back. Away from you. Away from you.
Sometimes I think it's unfair for anyone to be as happy as I am. Charles and I are just as much in love now as when we married. To me, he is just the dearest man in the world.
My John is. I love him so much I could die for him. I'm going through hunger and want to make him great. And he loves me. He worships me. I should like to meet Mr. Goodrich. You must bring him to the studio. John has some sketches to show, but not many because they've all been purchased by their subjects. Well, he gets as much as $4,000 now.
Don't pay that
As
much.
much as that?
Well, it's not much when one considers, well, that John is in the foremost ranks of artists today. Why, a picture by him now will only double or triple in value.
It's all a lie. He's growing weak with despair.
Does he paint all day long?
No, he draws advertisements for our bread.
When you come, telephone first.
Yes, so he can get the advertisements out of the way.
Otherwise, he may be with a sitter, and John refuses to let me disturb him then.
Make her ask for an order.
Lagrange offered to pay me $4,000.
Well, Lagrange's reputation isn't worth more than that.
I've heard his work well mentioned.
Yes, he's doing splendid work.
Dear me, no, he's only praised by the masses. He's accepted not at all by artists themselves.
Must we pay the full price?
Lagrange thought I would make a good subject.
Let her fish for it.
Of course you would. Why don't you let Lagrange paint you if you trust him?
He doesn't seem at all anxious for John to do it.
But if Lagrange isn't accepted by the artist, then to pose for him would be a waste of time, wouldn't it?
Yes, I think it would.
Give us the order. John is so despondent he can't endure much longer. Help us. Help me. Save us.
Don't seem too eager.
And yet, if he only charges 1,000, one might consider it.
Well, if you really wish to be painted, Harriet, why don't you give a little more and get a portrait that is really worthwhile? John might be induced to doing it for a little below his usual price, considering that you used to be such good friends.
Hoorah!
That's very nice of you to suggest, Margaret, but I don't
For
know.
God's sake, say yes.
Of course, I don't know that he would. He's very particular about these matters. Why, he puts a value on his work and he thinks it beneath him to discuss price.
Don't try and make us feel small.
But still, I might quite delicately mention to him that inasmuch as you have many influential friends, that you would be very glad to to
Finish what I don't want to say.
Oh, help her out.
Oh, yes. Introductions would follow the exhibition of my portrait. No doubt
Be patronizing.
no doubt I could introduce your husband to his advantage.
Saved! If I find John in a propitious mood, well, I shall take pleasure for your sake in telling him about your beauty. Just as you are sitting now, my dear, would make a wonderful pose.
We can go now.
Don't make her think, or don't let her think, that she's doing us a favor.
It will give me pleasure to add my name to the list of your husband's patronesses.
Run home and tell John the good news.
I little guessed, when I came here for a pleasant chat about old times, well, that it would develop into a business arrangement. Oh, Harriet, I had no idea that you wished to be painted. And by Lagrange, too. Well, I came just in time to rescue you.
Run home and tell John. Hurry, hurry, hurry.
You managed the altar very neatly. She doesn't suspect that that's what he wanted.
If I'm not satisfied with my portrait, Margaret, I shall blame you. I'm relying on your opinion of John's talent.
She doesn't suspect what you came for. Run home and tell John.
No, I really must be going, or you will have me completely under your spell.
Yes, please go. I have to dress for dinner.
One does not flatter when one tells the truth.
You don't have to stay so long.
Hurry home.
No, I really must go. But I look forward to seeing you at the studio often.
I hate you.
I find you so stimulating.
I hate you.
It is indeed gratifying to find a kindred spirit.
I came for your gold.
It's so nice to get to know you again.
I'm going to make you and your husband to supper.
My kind regards to John.
He has forgotten all about you.
He will be so pleased to receive them.
I can't wait to talk to him again.
Shall I wait then until you send me word?
Well, I shall talk to John as soon as I can, and I will tell you when to come. I love him. I love him. I'm going to take him away from you. I'm going to divorce him. I'm going to rob you. What a delightful afternoon.
It's been a joy to see you, Margaret. Goodbye, my dear.
Fringe benefits production. As you may have noticed, this year we opened the auditions in the program to new actors, lapsed actors, wannabe actors. I don't know what the right description is, but didn't all these folks do a great job? Stars are born. And of course, we want to thank our more experienced, seasoned people as well. They did a wonderful job and helped everybody. Tonight in your program, as you know, the Fringe is just beginning our season, and in your program, excuse me, there's a sheet that asks for your financial help. What a surprise! So we hope that you will. We hope that you will consider including us in your holiday giving plans, whatever they may be, because we are penny wise, and we spend the donation money that we receive very cautiously and very wisely, but we appreciate every donation. The next thing I'd like to say is we have, this year for the first time, season tickets. And our season is beginning, the next production is called The Price by Arthur Miller. And it's a fabulous play, and we have an amazing venue for it because the play takes place in an attic. So where can you find an attic in Key West that would hold, 70 people? And we found one. And I don't know if anybody can guess where it is, but it has soaring ceilings and walls of windows. It's the most amazing space. It's never been open to the public. And that's where the price will open on December 26th. Does anybody know? Mel Fisher, right. It's going to be a mind-blowing show. And anyway, please come to see our show, The Price. After that, the next production is called Private Lives, the Noel Coward, very famous comedy. And we're doing that at the Eaton Street Theater. And if you've been to the Eaton Street Theater, you know it's sort of a stage in a barn. And we are doing something that we call fringifying the space. So when you go into the Eaton Street Theater to see Private Lives, it will be somewhat an altered experience than what you might expect from that space. The next production is called Orson's Shadow, which is a play about Orson Welles and Laurence Olivier at the very beginning of the National Theatre in London, when Olivier was trying to persuade Orson Welles to come and direct something at their new theatre. And the play takes place on the empty stage of a new theatre. So we shall be doing it on the empty stage of the new theatre at the studios. And our final production of the season is Conch Republic. This is our third year that Conch Republic will be at San Carlos over Conch Republic Independence Days. It's looking, and we're hoping, like it will be part of the annual Conch Republic Day celebration. So, come and see it. And all of these 4 shows are now available in a season ticket, a regular season ticket, and we have an opening night season ticket as well. And while other theaters have software and PayPal and who knows what, we have Joviana. I am my personal service because it's the only kind we got. Joe isn't here right now, but he might not be too happy about this. Anyway, our regular season ticket is only available from Joviana, and you can contact me or him or whatever. And our opening night season ticket is available from Joe or from Keys Tix. And we have one final thing I want to mention, all this business. We know we have a lot of friends and supporters in this town, and of course we're very appreciative and thankful. But we have done something to help you help us. And what I mean by that is we've got a little Christmas gift that you can give to anybody. It's available, and it has in it, if I don't drop this with my gloves, it's ready to go, just put somebody's name on the tag. Inside is this high-quality holiday wine glass, wrapped in its tissue, and what we will do is, add to this package, these gloves or something else, thank you, a ticket for whatever. We have season tickets, we have our opening night season ticket, we have tickets to the price. So you could just stick the ticket in the glass and we keep track of it. You can give it to whomever. They can actually give it to someone else if they want to re-gift. But not that I would ever do that. But at any rate, it's a nice, $35 gift for someone for Christmas if you're stumped. And this is a way that the people who know the Fringe can pass on the Fringe experience to your friends and family for the holidays. So with that, we thank you so very much for coming. Thank you so much.